There we go. Okay, so as I was saying, for those who are just watching the recording now, the purpose is sort of twofold. One is for you to have an experience working with parents and collaborating with parents, and two is to gather information about your focal child. Reason why initially my dog is right behind me and I'm trying not to step on him. So that's why I'm looking down every now and then, making sure that I'm not going to kick him or something. So for you to gather data, information about your focal child is going to be important, because all the assignments that you're doing are about that focal child, right? So you want to, in the class profile, which is the assignment that's coming right after the family interview and family visit assignment, there's a section where you're going to input information or data points that you gathered from that family visit. So that's one place in which that family visit assignment feeds another assignment. And then at the end, when you're building your full language portfolio on your focal child, also you're pulling in data that you have from everywhere, right? From your observations, from your assessments, from the family visit. So everywhere. And that information that you compiled in the class profile is essentially put into that portfolio that you're building, right? So initially, you should be doing that family visit with your focal child's family. But I know from Caroline that Miss Carr had said that she didn't want to overburden the families in the pre-K class with another interaction, with another video meeting. And since they really gracefully have helped us get this sort of experience for you guys, we can't really say, oh, no, you have to let us have access to the families, right? So what I think you can do, and this will help you meet the requirements of completing the assignment, is to do what she suggested, which was to have that meeting with the family, one of the families from the family visits that you're doing with a Judy Center, which is not the family of your focal child, but is another experience that you're having through the Judy Center to collaborate and interact with families and with parents. And from my reading of her response to Caroline, it seems like it would be okay if you scheduled another, say, 30-minute session with the families from the Judy Center to do that assignment. So that would give you the opportunity of doing the assignment, having information to complete that assignment and to turn it in. And when you do your class profile, you would be inputting the data and the information that you gathered from that interview, with the caveat that this is not necessarily the parents or the families of my focal child, right? And the observations that you have will be of your focal child, because that's a child that you have been observing. For those of you who are not at Lakeland, you have your access to your focal child, you probably do have access to the parents of that child, right? And so for you, then send the consent letter to the family, let them know that this is coming, send them the heart map is another thing too. So you're sending them the heart map and template for them to complete, and hopefully either they complete it before your family visit or during your family visit. Initially, when we were doing this face-to-face, the heart map was sort of a warming tool, right? So it's like an opening up the conversation through something that we're doing with our hands. So to get parents sort of engaged in the process. It also is a tool that is going to help with communication that is nonverbal, because some of the parents, especially the Lakeland parents, are Spanish-speaking families. and some of the parents are not very fluent in English. So that's another concern that sometimes students have is, well, how am I going to interview? How am I going to communicate with a family if we don't speak the same language? So hopefully by reading the readings that we had, the articles that we had for last week, you can sort of get a sense of how much information you can actually gather, even if it's not through verbal communication, right? So there's a lot of body language, facial expressions that you can be observing and gathering information from. And the heart map was also intended as a tool for you to gather sort of nonverbal information as well. So the heart map is just a blank piece of paper with a outline of a heart. And the sort of the instructions or the directions to use it is to think about all the things that you love about your child. That's the instruction or the direction for the parent, right? So they're going to fill it up with everything that make their child special, that make their child unique, that they love and admire about their child. And so it's a very sort of positive look on who this child is. And through them doing that, that's data that you're collecting, information that you're collecting on this child from the point of view of the parent. A guidance that I give when we have this sort of face-to-face class, and sometimes we do the heart maps in class, is for you to do one and bring it as an example and say, okay, this is my heart map about maybe me or someone that I care about, and these are all of the things that are positive about this person or about myself or that I'm proud of or that I like. Or so you can do it about yourself and just do a heart map of this is me. Or you can do it about someone that is very near to you, that you could do sort of this is this person, right? And represented within this map. And show it to the parents as an example. Of course, sometimes we're very artistically inclined and create some things that are incredibly beautiful, and the parents feel a little apprehensive and overwhelmed because they feel like, okay, I can't do that, I can't draw that way, and it's okay. Heart maps in the past sometimes are just filled with words and not necessarily images. They're just words of things that the child likes to do and how the parent sees them. Other times they are illustrations of things that the child likes to do, hobbies, how they interact with others. If they have a pet, the pet is drawn in. Or in the past, when there's been more than one family member, all of them get their, heart blank template of the heart map, and they can all, use whatever implements they have to draw. And they can make the heart map of the child or of themselves or of you. For the assignment in the rubric, there is an item that is the heart map present, is a heart map included. So if you're doing it, and you're all going to be doing this virtually, so take a picture of it, of the parent's heart map, so that you are able to include it. To also, remember the information and the data that's in there so that you can then incorporate it into your analysis of how it went and what kind of information you gathered. And 2, to just have it there attached in your assignment, in the assignment that you're going to submit. If for whatever reason there's not a possibility of doing a heart map, don't worry, put it in your assignment. It wasn't possible. The parents, really weren't up for this, or they didn't have materials at home to do it. Whatever the reason is, just explain that in your assignment and sort of describe why you don't have it, why you don't have the heart map to include, because that happens as well. If you have more than one heart map, you can include them too. Like if you have the mom there and the dad and a sibling and everybody was engaged in it and everybody did one, you can include all of them as well. Let's see what other, the question regarding the questions for the interview. there are some questions there in the template, right? And you can take those questions, you can ask those questions, you can include your own questions. It might be that you have been observing, for those of you who are interviewing your focal child's parents, it might be that you have been observing some things in your focal child that you want to ask about, right? So you can include those questions too. It's not, the questions that are provided are examples, and it's not necessarily you have to ask those particular questions. So also think about, what would you be curious about? And if you're not interviewing the parents or the family of your focal child, think about what you would want to know about a child that you were working with from parents, right? And sort of practice asking those questions. How would you formulate the question? If you want to know if the child gets along with their siblings at home, or who do they play with, or is there playtime at home, or how strict are those, discipline norms at home, and you want to know those things that sometimes are tricky, think about how would you ask that, having the parent, well, not face to face, but screen to screen, right? Having the parent there, how would you ask that question that wouldn't be intimidating for the parent, or that the parent wouldn't feel like you're prying in their, private life? But how would you ask that question in a way that you could get the answer in a comfortable way for everybody, right? You don't want to make the parents feel uncomfortable or like you're, being nosy into their lives. Another thing to preface that interview or that family visit is to tell them that this is for class purposes, that you're a teacher candidate, and that you're in training and preparing to become a teacher, and that this is an assignment to get to know how to sort of develop skills to how to interact with families, and tell them that everything that they say to you is confidential, that you will use pseudonyms for any information that you share, and that nothing is going to be posted anywhere online or made public in any way, that it's for an assignment, that your professor is going to read it and you're going to read it, and then that's it. That's as far as that information is going to go. To ease their mind in terms of, how much can I share with you, and where is that information going to go? I think I answered all the questions. What the initial ones? Yes.
For the interview questions, where exactly is it on Blackboard? I was checking out. I was like, oh.
Okay. Let me look, because I remember that you asked that in the email. Let me see. So it should be under assignments. So it should be that you go into a Blackboard course, and under assignments, let me see if I can just share my screen so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Do you see my screen? Okay. So if you go to our course, you go to assignments, family visit. Okay. So this is where you upload. Are you guys seeing this? My screen? Yeah? Okay. So this is where you upload your assignment. Then the heart maps are there. So we click on that. It should take you to the PDF of the book, and it's not the entire book. It has been PDF'd, but where you can find. Okay, so download originals, open that PDF, and this is the book. Do you see it still, or am I sharing another screen? Do you see the heart map, the Georgia herd heart map? No? Okay. Okay, let me stop sharing and share again. Okay, do you see it now? Okay, so when you clicked on that link that was in the folder for family visit, the one that says heart map, you would get this, right? So you download this. This is parts of the book, not all of it, but parts of the book. And it has some different heart maps there. So there are examples of them, and there's templates. Like this would be a template one that is blank. But you can easily do a template of your own and just like draw a heart on a white piece of paper and scan it and have it in a PDF and send it to the family so that they can open it up and see it. You can also just sort of take a picture of this one, right? So do this one in a view that I can't change it because I'm sharing my screen. But if you see this in a different view, in a different size view, you will be able to just take a picture, a screenshot of this one and have that be the heart that you share as a template. Okay, so let's see. So are you seeing my Blackboard screen? Yeah? Okay. So if we go down there, go back to assignments, you'll see that there's an exemplar there done by a former student, and there's the parent letter. And that letter is the first part. This one is a Word document. So the first part is a couple pages that are in English, and then the same 2 pages in Spanish. So depending on, the language preference of your parent, you can just send them the English version or send them the Spanish version to let them know what you're doing. In the letter, it says that you've been working with their child for the semester, and part of the assignment is to reach out to the family, which was the initial intent of the assignment, right? To have the interview with your focal child's family. You can explain that that you have and you will have been working with this family. For those that are doing it with the families of the Judy Center, you probably have been working with this family and working with this child. It's just that that child is not necessarily your focal child. That's okay. And that family or that child might be, in the eyes of those parents, your focal child, and that's fine. You will have been working with the child and working with the family up until that point, so it's okay. You don't necessarily have to explain that this is part of a bigger assignment and that you have another focal child that you're collecting observations off of. That's going to be a little too confusing for the families to explain all that. So choose English or Spanish version, whichever you think fits best with your family. Look at the exemplar, and there from the heart maps is where you get the template. So here you should have the rubric. And the template. So do you see where I am right now? In the assignment itself. So if I go back to that folder, so here we are in this folder assignments, and then within the family visit folder, there's a section where it says family visit and interview, which is where you upload your assignment to. There you'll have assignment content, and it has the rubric so that you can see exactly what's going to be assessed. And we can see it in a second. And then you have the template. And in the template is where you're going to find the questions. Okay. Can you see this Word document? Yeah. Okay. So this is the template for it. So you're going to do a pre-family visit reflection where you're thinking about, okay, what are your assumptions of this family? What are your fears? What do you think is going to happen? Maybe you think some things could go wrong. What are those things that you think could potentially go wrong? What do you think could be your strengths, and what could possibly go right with the interactions? What are your expectations, basically, around this experience? So that's a couple paragraphs, if at that much, like maybe it's one or two, maybe it's just one, but it's a paragraph with your initial sentiments and thought process before you embark in the home visit. During the visit, you're looking for some key things to sort of highlight in your data collection, right? So what family and community members value in general, what they value about the child, what are their funds of knowledge in the household and in the community that they're part of, what are the other teachers in the child's life aside from the parents and the siblings, ways in which others might too easily stereotype the child and the family and the community that they live. So what are the potential sort of issues that they're grappling with, right? That you can just kind of foresee by the interactions that you're having with them. And all of these are subtleties that are not necessarily questions that you're asking, right? This is sort of the overall sort of contextual sense that you get by interacting with them. And then you get to the actual questions. So you're going to ask them questions like this, right? So, and there's 15, and you should at least ask 10 questions. And you're presenting this information just as you did the interview for the speech pathologist. So you have question and answer. Okay, I asked this question and this is what they said. And I asked this question and this is what they said, right? These questions, again, are examples. You don't necessarily need to ask all of these questions. You don't necessarily need to ask these particular questions. They're just questions that give you examples of what would you want to know in terms of what kinds of responses will give you information about the child for the assignment that you're completing, right? So what is the parent or the family's occupation? What is their favorite TV show? How do they encourage the child at home? How they sort of support or uplift the child at home is what that question is getting to. What's a typical day like? What are the family activities? What are the strengths? What were the child's first words? Et cetera, et cetera. If you read these questions, you're going to see that the focus is on the positive. So we're not necessarily asking questions about like what is the child struggling with, or what are the challenges, or what are the aspects that are more difficult for the child, which are valid questions, but that's not the tone of this particular family visit. Here you want to see, and that's why we use the heart map, right? Because it's all the things that you love about your child, all the things that make your child special and great, all the things that you're proud about of this child, right? So it's highlighting all the positives and how the family supports the child in that positive way. And then these are the activities. You can use the heart map, other activities that you might come up with ideas to engage the family. You can explain them here. You don't need to have other activities. You can just say, okay, well, we did the heart map and we went right into the questions and we made it brief and sweet and short and we were done. And that's fine, right? And then after you do that, after you have that experience and then and you've completed all your questions and you have all your answers, then think about in this reflection section, what did you learn through this experience, right? So highlight the funds of knowledge that were evident for you, the strength that this child has, what does the family value? So respond to some of these questions that have to do, some of them directly with the questions that you ask the family, if you take the questions from the examples, and some of them have to do with these overall impressions over here in this first part, where you're getting a feel for what is this sort of family all about and how does this dynamic work in supporting this child. Questions about this?
I'm asking a lot of questions today. Oof. So, I guess like trying to figure out how to lead a conversation with the parent, because the way how the Judy Center at Lakeland, the way how like they format the family visits is more so like you're doing one-on-one with the child and you're using Frog Street learning portal in order to like draw assessments and materials from there. And the time that the parent that I'm working with gave me, I feel like is more so what works best for her son as opposed to her. So, and we already established the time, but I'm pretty sure because it's in the middle of the workday, I feel like I don't know, like if that time actually is like what works best for her. So I guess like trying to navigate that conversation, because I think like the confusion I got was just like the impression like between this assignment and then like what the Judy Center expects out of us as interns for the home visiting program, and trying to like reestablish, I don't know how to like put it.
Right,
like
right.
I get
And
one impression.
I think, Jasmine, the best way would be to separate them, right? So the experience that you're supporting the Judy Center with and what you're helping them to continue to do is to take this program home. And taking this program home means that you're interacting with the parent and teaching the parent some skills as the child is there and doing them with you. So you're modeling for the parent what you're trying to teach them, right? And it's for them to then continue to support the growth and development of their child. And the child is there and you interact with the child and you model for the parent how it's going to look like when you're not there and how they can do it for them. So that experience is a very valuable experience that you're going to have by doing that, but it's different than this family visit that we're doing, right? Because the family visit that we're doing as an assignment is for you to get to know the family, practice the skills of interacting with the family, but also wearing sort of the teacher hat. What kind of information would you want from the family in order to you as a teacher do your job in the best way possible, right? So if you want to meet the needs of the child, you need to know about the child, and you need to know about the child's background and the richness that happens at home that you can't see, right? So that's what this assignment is for, is to inquire and get to know those things that happen at home by asking the parents. And by asking the parents, because the parents are the ones that are the experts on this child. They've been with this child all this child's life, right? And so they know this child inside out. And you're there sort of like a researcher collecting data on this child, asking questions to these parents to get to know the child better, so that as the child's teacher, you can support and facilitate their learning. So if you see those two things as two separate experiences, and then I believe from what Ms. Carr said in her email to Caroline that it would be okay for you to schedule a separate session, not a session where you're going to do the Judy Center Family Visit Program, but a session in which you're going to do this interview for this assignment and separate it and explain that to the parent, because then the parent might show up expecting that you're going to have another Judy Center session, and it's not. That's not what it is, right? It's you can even send the heart map beforehand. You can send the questions that you're going to ask them beforehand, so they know what you're going to be talking about. Nothing of this needs to necessarily be a surprise for the parents, right? It's a conversation. I want to have a conversation with you about your child, and these are the questions that I have. And I would love it if you could complete this heart map on telling me everything that you're proud of about your child and all the things that, make him or her unique and special, and forefront that, right? So you're telling them this is what we're going to do in this session, so they know what to expect, and tell them how long that session is going to last, and how you're going to do it through a video, whatever platform you're using to connect with them, and so everybody knows what we're here for, right? Because it's I think in the past Some students that either didn't preface it, explaining what the meeting was for, what were you getting together to do, or that tried to explain it, but there was a language barrier there, so the families didn't really comprehend what we were doing, or who am I that I'm contacting you to talk to you about your child, or so. And that's where the letter is going to help you. So if there is a barrier, the letter, there's a version of the letter in Spanish that you can send that explains, what is it that we're going to do. And the Spanish version is a translation of the English version. So if you read the English version, you know exactly what is it that you're saying to the parents by sending them that letter. And I think that doing that, separating those two, is going to be helpful for everybody. It's going to be helpful for you to understand, okay, they're two different things. It's going to be helpful for the parent to set their expectations as well, as this is something different. This is a different kind of experience that we're going to have. And then you can go back to your, regular program for Judy Center family visits that they do, which is a different kind of intervention. What they're doing is facilitating a curriculum for parents to support the learning and the development of their children at home. And you're just giving them tools to do that at home, right? It's completely different from the family visit assignment that we're doing to collect data on a child. Does that help, Jasmine?
Definitely. I'm a little overwhelmed. It's probably obvious, but I have a lot clearer of an idea of what's going on.
Okay. Well, if you have any questions, that's what we're here for. So don't think that you're asking too many.
If it's in a couple days after the due date, because I know it's due on the 20th, which is a Tuesday, I don't hang with my kid and their parent until Wednesdays. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know if they have enough time after our home visit. So I'd have to plan something outside of that with her. And I don't know when exactly she'll be available because she's pretty busy, I think. So is that okay if it's not in exactly on the 20th?
That's fine. Just okay. Make sure you contact or you reach out to them as soon as possible to let them know this is coming and try to schedule it. And if it's scheduled after the due date, that's fine. But if it's submitted after it, that's.
Should we let you know, or does it not matter?
If you can let me know, that'd be great. So that we know what to expect and who to sort of be on the lookout for.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question more about the observations. Mm-hmm. So I'm also at Lakeland, and with the pre-K class, how it is I think I'm in the PM section, so there's the 2 dual language classrooms, so there's a lot of students, and I'm trying to observe, for example, if she raises her hand, if there's a question being asked, but there's not many opportunities when they actually speak, just because there's so many students, and I think they want everybody to have a chance to talk. And I was looking at the exemplar for the language portfolio, and there's a written aspect about it. So seeing how they're writing and everything. So I'm kind of worried that my language portfolio won't be very complete just because it is all virtual, and the times I can be there, my focal child might not be speaking as much, and yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And so the exemplars are there for you to see what, under normal circumstances, this assignment would look like, right? So, but that's not to say that yours needs to be exactly like the exemplar or include everything in it, because we're not under normal circumstances. And you know that firsthand because you're having the different experience, and I know that too. So do the best you can, get as much information as you can on your focal child. And if you don't know where they are, say on literacy development, if they're on stage 2 or 3, because you couldn't observe that, then that's fine. That your language portfolio at the end will have as much information on your focal child as you were able to collect. But it won't, I am aware that is going to happen, right? So when I'm using this, and that's why I opened this, can you see this, the rubric? That's why I opened this, because I wanted to point out, for the assignment that we were talking about before, the family visit, there is a heart map there. And there is a heart map is not included in assignment upload. But I know that it's going to be very difficult, or it can be. It might be very easy for some of you, but it might be difficult for others of you to actually collect that heart map, to be able to incorporate it in your assignment. So if you can't, if there are parts of the assignment that you know that are in the rubric that would be otherwise assessed, but that for whatever reason it was impossible for you to get, just make a note of that in the assignment. So in the section where they would be, in this assignment, for example, the heart map would go in your assignment, you say, okay, well, I would have put my heart map here, but it was impossible for me to get it, and explain why, right? So the family didn't want to do it, or they didn't have the materials, or we didn't have the time, or whatever reason it is, right? And in the language portfolio as well. So you're talking about your child and you're talking about their oral development, and you say, well, this is what I was able to see. It might not be that that's exactly where the child is developmentally, because I wasn't able to see everything, right? And you can just preface that and say, okay, this is as much as information as I got on this child. And that's completely valid, right? That you're saying, okay, this is how I see her because this is what I know about her. I can't, make up other things or assume that maybe she's here because of her age, because I really didn't observe that in the child, and that's fine. And if it's in the rubric as some of an item to be assessed, you won't be penalized for that.
Okay, thank you. That makes me feel a lot better, because I remember last semester we were able to be like, because due to COVID, so I'm assuming it's just like very similar.
Right.
Okay, thank you so much.
So here you're just going to say, due to the nature of the observations being virtual and the child not being able to, or not being allowed to, fully participate orally, there were things I couldn't see, and that's fine. Heather, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here because I think that there was or I can see it here. Okay. Okay, so Stacy's asking, should mom and dad do it individually or together? You're doing one home visit, so whomever wants to participate and be there is going to be welcome to come. Particularly if the families, well, Stacy has the advantage that she speaks Spanish. So if her family speaks Spanish, she'll be able to communicate, right? But if you don't have that advantage and you don't speak the primary language of the family, there might be a sibling or a neighbor or a grandparent or someone that can translate for you, and is part of the family visit. And that's okay, and you can say in the family visit, there was the mom and there was the child was there too. And then there was a neighbor who was there and who was translating for us. And the neighbor can even provide information about the child that will be useful and interesting for you to collect as well. So no, you don't necessarily have to do many family visits. You're doing one with whomever wants to come, right? If it's only the dad, it's only the dad that you get, right? If it's only the mom and a sibling, it's only the mom and a sibling. That's fine. You don't necessarily have to see the entire family or talk to all of them. Yeah, so and Dominic was asking, and to piggyback off of that, is it okay if only one parent does a heart map? Yeah, you just need one heart map. Like I said in the past, some students had several heart maps because there were several people in the family visit, and they all wanted to do one, and they had like the different ones. But you just need one heart map that is sort of where you're pulling your information. Okay, and Arlen said that she needed to go to a class. So, any other questions? Stop sharing. Okay. Are we good? How is everything else going? Oh, where am I not? Stop sharing my video. There we go.
I feel a lot better about the placement now that we've had more interaction with like Miss Carr and Miss Slade and Melissa. They had the orientation, I think it was last Monday or the Monday before. My concept of time is very off. But that was really helpful. Now that we're in the classroom, things are starting to come together a little bit more. And I think the assignments make more sense because we can apply it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel better about things, but it definitely is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with Zoe. I think, like in the beginning, I was just a little overwhelmed because I feel like the communication just wasn't there. But now that we have like started and are getting into the group of things, I think I'm a lot better. So.
Yeah, I think it took them a little time to figure out how to get you guys into the classrooms to observe, and then getting the permission from city schools to actually allow you to be there, even if you're just observing. They had to okay it. So we all know how, bureaucracy takes a little bit of time to okay things. So, but now that you're there and that you have access and that you can observe, I think it's going to be valuable. And not only because you're observing the class, right? So it's not only about what you're learning about your focal child's language development, but also getting sort of like a sneak peek of how is it that teachers are dealing with all the virtual learning in this time that is very atypical, right? I think for the phase 2 students that I'm teaching, they're doing their final, student teaching internship under these conditions. I think that's the sort of the silver lining, or the positive outcome, is that hopefully there's never going to be another opportunity to learn to do this, right? So, and they're like thrown in there firsthand. This is, learning in action, and it's very unique, and it might be really stressful and hard, and but it's a unique opportunity, and I think that for you guys that have the ability to sort of peek into that and learn from that, it's important. It's special. It's and I don't know, and I think if we see it that way, it can be a little bit less daunting, because there's something positive to see of having a different kind of experience and knowing how to manage it.
I think the home visit sessions that we're going to have are going to be something. I haven't done mine yet. I know a couple other students have, but I'm looking forward to that because I don't think we'll be able to do that kind of thing again, especially if we're going into like public school and into grades. Like, we'll just interact with parents either on the phone or in parent-teacher conferences. So that's one of the things that I want to work on is just interacting with parents. And so kind of throwing us into it is, I think, the best way to do that. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, even though I'm like terrified.
Yeah. I think that working with parents is something that as teachers, we're all very afraid of, because working with children, that's what we're trained to do, right? That's what we know how to do. It's our bread and butter. But working with parents, that might not be something that it's a little intimidating. And even when you talk to seasoned teachers that have been teaching for a long time, sometimes you ask them, well, what is the most difficult part of your job? And often the answer is, the parents are the difficult part of my job, like interacting with parents and collaborating with parents. So I think that is great that you have the opportunity to work with families and get that firsthand experience of how invested families truly are in their kids and how much or how important they are for them. Because sometimes as teachers, we see parents, because we're not working with their children, we see parents as sort of detached from the whole learning experience. And I think that more often than not, parents are the first teachers or the first ones that are there wanting the best for their children. And maybe circumstances don't put them in the best light in front of teachers. And teachers think, they don't care, or they don't come, or they don't show up. And that means that they're not really invested. And they are. It's just they're juggling many, many things. And if you get a sneak peek into that life, I think that's going to be a really good tool to have. Yeah. Well, any other questions? I think someone. Okay, Dominique had to head out. We're good? Okay. Well, let me know if you have any other questions, or if you need to touch base again, or at any point. We can do this at any point. I will see you next week for staffing, one-on-one. So, 1-on-3, because we have all the EC faculty will be there. So, and you get to share your successes and your challenges as well. Okie doke. Well, be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.